The moment you stopped chasing them, something inside them changed. Not because you begged, not because you explained, but because your silence finally became louder than your love. And now they are starting to feel what they never expected to feel, the fear that your energy may never return. Stay with me because what they do next will reveal what they truly felt all along. Have you ever noticed how some people only recognize your worth when you no longer place yourself in front of them? If this has happened to you, listen carefully, because your withdrawal is not weakness. It is the moment your soul remembers its dignity. If this message is speaking to something you have lived through, stay until the end, because the most important part is not what they do next, it is what you must not do when they return with half effort. When you stop chasing someone, your silence becomes the mirror they were avoiding. As long as you kept reaching out, explaining your feelings, asking for clarity, forgiving their distance, and trying to hold the connection together, they never had to sit alone with the truth of their own behavior. Your effort gave them a place to hide. Every message you sent softened the impact of their absence. Every second chance you gave allowed them to delay responsibility. Every time you returned after being hurt, they quietly learned that they could neglect the bond and still have access to your heart. But the moment you stop chasing, the entire emotional structure changes. Suddenly, there is no one filling the gap for them. No one is explaining. No one is trying to fix the silence. No one is carrying the weight of the connection alone. And in that empty space, they begin to hear something uncomfortable, themselves. They begin to notice how much they relied on your presence without honoring it. They begin to feel the weight of conversations they avoided, apologies they never gave, affections they withheld, and moments where they chose pride over honesty. This is why your silence can feel so powerful. It does not attack them, it does not beg them, it does not chase them into understanding. It simply removes your energy from the place where it was being misused. And when your energy is gone, they are left with the truth they were trying not to face. For some people, this mirror creates regret. For others, it creates defensiveness. They may tell themselves you changed, you became cold, or you stopped caring. But deep inside, they know the shift did not happen suddenly. They know your silence was not the beginning of the problem. It was the result of being unheard for too long. Your silence reveals what your words could not. It shows them that love without respect eventually becomes distance. It shows them that patience has limits. It shows them that even the softest heart can step back when it finally remembers its worth. People rarely understand the value of your energy while it is freely available to them. When you are always there, always forgiving, always checking in, always trying to understand their silence, your presence starts to feel normal. They do not see it as a gift anymore. They see it as something that will continue, no matter how careless they become. This is where many connections become unbalanced. One person keeps pouring love, attention, patience, and emotional warmth, while the other slowly becomes comfortable receiving without returning the same effort. But when you stop chasing, the emotional temperature changes. The warmth they were used to suddenly disappears. Your name does not appear on their phone the same way. Your concern is no longer waiting at the door. Your soft words, your patience, your willingness to listen, your desire to fix things, all of it becomes absent. And this absence creates a strange discomfort inside them. They may not understand it at first. They may call it boredom, irritation, restlessness, or even anger. But beneath all of that, what they are really feeling is the loss of your energy. This is when they begin to notice the small things they ignored. They remember how you used to ask if they were okay. They remember how you stayed kind even when they were distant. They remember how your presence made them feel seen, wanted, and emotionally safe. The silence around them begins to expose the comfort they took from you without appreciating it. At first, they may still resist the truth. Pride may tell them not to care. Ego may whisper that you will come back again. But when days pass and your energy does not return, something deeper begins to move. They start comparing your absence with the presence of others. They may realize that attention is easy to find, but genuine care is rare. They may discover that many people can talk to them, but not everyone can understand them the way you did. This is the painful realization. They did not only lose communication, they lost access to a rare emotional presence that once made their world feel easier, softer, and safer. At first, they may act as if nothing has changed. They may continue with their routine, laugh a little louder, post a little more, respond colder than usual, or behave as though your absence has no effect on them. Do not be fooled too quickly by this performance. When a person is used to being chased, your withdrawal does not immediately create humility. It first threatens their ego, and the ego does not bow easily. It defends, denies, distracts, and pretends. Their first reaction may not be regret, it may be pride. They may tell themselves that you are only trying to get attention. They may convince themselves that you will eventually come back because you always did before. They may minimize what happened, saying you are being dramatic, emotional, or difficult. This is how the ego protects itself from accountability. It turns your self-respect into a problem so they do not have to face the pain they caused. But beneath that pride, something more honest is happening. Your absence has disturbed the control they thought they had. They believed your love was predictable. They believed your patience was endless. They believed that no matter how distant, careless, or confusing they became, you would still reach for them. So when you stop, their inner system becomes unsettled. They may not miss you openly yet, but they feel the loss of control. This is why they may resist before they reflect. Reflection requires maturity. Resistance requires only fear. A person who is not ready to face themselves will first fight the mirror. They may ignore you harder, act happier, or try to make you feel like your silence means nothing. But sometimes, the louder they perform, the more disturbed they actually are inside. Your job is not to break their pride for them. Your job is not to explain your pain again until they finally understand it. You have already spoken through your effort. You have already shown care through your actions. Now your silence is speaking a language they cannot control. Let them sit with it. Let their ego wrestle with the truth. Let them discover whether they miss your presence or only miss having power over your availability. They may not come back with a grand confession. They may not immediately say, "I miss you," or "I was wrong," or "I should have treated you better." Most of the time, when someone realizes you have stopped chasing, they return quietly, indirectly, and carefully. Not because they have no feelings, but because direct honesty would require them to risk rejection. So instead of opening their heart, they test the door. They may send a small message that looks casual, almost meaningless, something like asking how you are, reacting to your story, liking an old post, sending a memory, or creating a reason to ask a simple question. On the surface, it may seem ordinary, but emotionally, it can be a probe. They are trying to see whether your warmth is still available. They want to know whether you will respond quickly, kindly, eagerly, or emotionally. They want proof that they still have access to the version of you that once made them feel safe and wanted. This is where many people make a mistake. They confuse a test with a transformation. Just because someone reaches out does not mean they are ready to love you properly. Sometimes they are only checking whether the connection is still under their influence. Sometimes they miss the attention, not the responsibility. Sometimes they want the comfort of knowing you are still there without doing the deeper work needed to repair what they broke. So when they test your availability, do not rush to reward minimum effort with maximum emotion. Do not pour your whole heart into a small signal. Do not treat a tiny message like a full apology. Watch their consistency. Watch their courage. Watch whether they are willing to speak clearly, take responsibility, and show behavior that matches their words. Because your silence has already done something important. It has shown them that your presence is not guaranteed. Now their response will reveal the truth. If they only return with breadcrumbs, they are still playing safe. But if they return with honesty, humility, and real effort, then perhaps they are no longer just testing the door. Perhaps they are finally learning how to enter with respect. Once your energy disappears, their mind begins walking backward. This is the strange thing about human attachment. Some people cannot understand the value of a moment while they are living inside it. They only recognize it when it becomes unreachable. When you were present, your kindness may have felt ordinary to them. Your patience may have seemed endless. Your forgiveness may have looked easy. But now that you are no longer chasing, those same moments begin returning to them with a different weight. They may remember the messages they ignored, the calls they delayed, the times you tried to speak honestly, but they avoided the conversation. They may remember how you stayed calm when you had every reason to walk away. They may remember how many times you chose understanding over anger, love over pride, softness over revenge. And slowly, they begin to realize that you were not weak for caring. You were strong enough to love in a world where many people only know how to take. This replay does not always happen loudly. They may not admit it to you. They may not confess it to anyone. But in quiet moments, when distractions fade, the mind begins showing them what the ego tried to dismiss. A song, a place, a phrase, a simple memory can bring your presence back into their inner world. Suddenly, the things they overlooked begin to feel sacred. Suddenly, your absence makes your old love visible. But this does not mean you should run back the moment they remember you. Regret is not the same as growth. Nostalgia is not the same as accountability. Missing old memories does not automatically mean they are ready to build something healthier. Many people want the feeling back without facing the behavior that destroyed it. So let their memory teach them, but do not let their regret trap you. Let them sit with the truth of what they failed to value. Let them understand that the love they received was never cheap, never common, never something to be handled carelessly. Because sometimes your absence becomes the lesson they ignored when your presence was still willing to explain. Sometimes, when they feel your absence deeply enough, they may try to come back. But you must understand this clearly. Return does not always mean transformation. A person can come back because they miss your energy, not because they have learned how to value it. They can come back because life feels emptier without you, not because they are ready to take responsibility for what they did. They can come back because your silence hurt their ego, not because their heart has matured. This is where you must become honest with yourself. Do not confuse their reappearance with healing. Do not confuse a message with accountability. Do not confuse "I miss you" with "I understand how I hurt you." Missing someone is emotional. Changing for someone requires character, and character is not proven through sudden words. It is proven through steady behavior. They may return with softness in their voice, memories in their hands, and regret in their eyes. They may say the right things for a moment. They may remind you of what once felt beautiful. But the real question is not whether they miss you. The real question is whether they are willing to meet you with honesty, consistency, respect, and emotional maturity. Because without these things, their return may only reopen the same wound that took you so long to close. Some people return because they want relief from guilt. Some return because they are lonely. Some return because they cannot stand the idea that you are finally becoming free. And if you are not careful, you may mistake their panic for love. You may think the pain of losing you has changed them, when actually it has only scared them. So watch carefully. Do they take responsibility without blaming you? Do they speak clearly instead of creating confusion? Do they show effort after the first emotional moment passes? Do they respect your boundaries even when those boundaries do not benefit them? A true return feels different. It does not rush you. It does not pressure you. It does not use emotion to pull you back into the same pattern. It comes with humility, patience, and proof. Because real transformation is not announced by beautiful words. It is revealed through repeated actions when no one is forcing them to perform. When you stop chasing, something inside you begins to return. At first, it may feel painful because your heart was trained to reach, to explain, to fix, to wait, and to hope. You may feel the urge to send one more message, give one more chance, or search for one more sign that they still care. But beneath that discomfort, a deeper part of you is waking up. This is the part of you that remembers love should never require you to abandon yourself. Detachment is not coldness, it is not revenge, it is not pretending you do not care. Real detachment is the moment you stop placing your peace in another person's hands. It is when you finally understand that your worth cannot depend on someone's reply, someone's attention, or someone's emotional confusion. You may still care about them, but you no longer allow that care to drag you away from yourself. This is where your power begins to return. Not loud power, not the kind that needs to prove anything. It is quiet power, the kind that makes you breathe differently, walk differently, choose differently. You stop checking your phone like your life is hidden inside a notification. You stop reading silence like a sentence against your value. You stop begging for clarity from someone who benefits from keeping you confused. And slowly, you begin to see what chasing was costing you. It was taking your focus. It was draining your confidence. It was making you smaller in your own eyes. Every time you fought for someone who was not meeting you halfway, you taught your soul to wait outside a door that may never open. But now you are coming back to yourself. You are learning that love is not supposed to make you disappear. You are learning that if someone truly wants to stand beside you, they will not require you to lose your dignity to keep them close. Your detachment becomes a sacred boundary. It tells the world that your heart is open, but it is no longer available for careless hands. What they do next will reveal the truth more clearly than anything they have ever said. When someone realizes you have stopped chasing, their reaction becomes a confession without words. Some will come closer with honesty, some will disappear deeper into pride, some will test you with small signals, hoping you will reopen the door without requiring anything from them. And some will finally understand that your silence is not a game, it is the result of being tired of loving alone. This is why you must watch behavior, not promises. Words can be shaped to sound beautiful. Apologies can be spoken without real change. Messages can be sent in moments of loneliness and forgotten when comfort returns. But behavior carries the truth. Behavior shows whether a person has only missed your attention or whether they have truly awakened to your worth. If they return with confusion, mixed signals, excuses, or the same old pattern dressed in softer language, then they have not changed. They have only felt the discomfort of losing access to you. They may want your warmth back, but they may not want the responsibility that comes with loving you properly. And this is where you must be careful. A familiar voice can reopen an old wound if your self-respect is not stronger than your longing. But if they return with clarity, humility, patience, and consistent effort, then something different may be happening. If they can admit where they failed without turning the blame toward you, if they can respect your boundaries without becoming angry, if they can show change after the emotional moment passes, then their actions may carry real meaning. Still, do not rush. Let time test what words cannot prove. Anyone can feel regret when they lose access. Not everyone can become mature enough to love with respect. Your task is not to punish them, and it is not to save them. Your task is to remain awake. Watch what they choose when they can no longer control you. Watch whether they honor the person you became when you stopped chasing. That is where their truth will finally reveal itself. In the end, when you stop chasing, you do not only change the connection, you change the entire emotional balance between you and them. For a long time, they may have believed your love would always be available. your patience would always return, and your heart would always wait outside the door of their uncertainty. But the moment you step back, the illusion breaks. They are forced to feel the weight of your absence. They are forced to notice the silence they once created. They are forced to meet the truth they avoided when you were still trying to explain your pain. And this is where everything becomes clear. Some people will miss you only because they miss being wanted. Some will return only because they miss your attention, your warmth, and the comfort of knowing you were always there. But others may finally awaken. They may realize that what they treated casually was actually rare. They may understand that your love was not weakness, but depth. Your patience was not desperation, but devotion. Your silence was not cruelty, but self-respect. So do not be in a hurry to run back toward anyone who suddenly notices you after you became unavailable. Let their actions speak. Let their consistency prove what their words promise. Let time reveal whether they have truly changed or whether they only fear losing access to you. Because the greatest victory is not making them regret losing you. The greatest victory is remembering yourself. It is standing in your own dignity without begging to be chosen. It is loving deeply without abandoning your soul. It is knowing that the right person will not need your absence to understand your worth. They will recognize it while you are still standing beside them.